Welcome back to the Frankie podcast. In this episode, I sat down with Davie Fogarty and we discussed how he's built a group of companies in the e-com space that now grosses $150 million a year and is going to be on track to grossing billions of dollars a year in the future. We talk about building brand, we talk about getting your marketing right, we talk about getting your mindset right to do it, we talk about a whole array of things that are going to hit your ears at the right time if you want to grow anything online. This is not a man that sells a course. This is a man that's a practitioner, that's been in the trenches, that's done the hard work, and is really going to impact the way that you do business online. Enjoy this episode, put your ears around it, and fully concentrate and lock in. Let's go.
So that together we have clarity, direction, and success way beyond what we ever previously thought possible. Here's your host, Frankie Lee.
Davie Fogarty, welcome to the podcast. And
thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
I've already done the intro at this point, so that's why we're going straight in with this. But I really want to, I suppose the best place for us to start with you, obviously seven brands online, turnover 150 million. Like it's a bit of a mad journey. Like, how did you even get started in the e-com space?
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me, man. Yeah, it's an interesting story. One that we haven't really told very much for numerous reasons. Maybe we'll get into that a bit later, but I guess I'll start way back because it is a little bit interesting. You know, I started the typical journey, needed to get a degree to get a good job, that kind of vibes. But in the end, you know, I started growth hacking Instagrams. So with Greta Van Riel, she's pretty well known in the Shopify space. Yeah, we started growing them to 600,000 followers. She ended up getting about 14 mil worth of followers, and we just started selling products through those pages. So that really kind of pushed me into the digital space, which was really helpful. Learned a lot about platforms, algorithms, just growth hacking in general. Meanwhile, I was definitely doing a lot of kind of other entrepreneurial stuff, like more typical, like my role models did. Looking at, like, I started a Vietnamese roll shop. I tried to sell singlets. I tried to sell seasoning, iPhone cases, kind of really everything. I tried to make an app. Everything just kind of failed and fell down. I was really doing like permissionless hacky marketing, similar to like Instagram, find followers in any way you can and then just try to sell to them. Yeah. That kind of permissionless marketing, probably pushed me in the wrong direction in some ways. And then eventually I just went through this huge period of just self-learning. I realized that there was a reason why I kept failing businesses and other people were succeeding. So I just kind of went on a bit of a quest to find what those reasons were. A lot of books, podcasts, YouTube videos are really important. Yeah. And then,
what was the key things you found when you were going along that quest that were actually causing you to stop getting that as far as you wanted to get in e-com though? What were the key?
Yeah, definitely. I think product mentality, making sure that you have the right product. Also just general marketing, like it's not a natural thing to be able to communicate in marketing terms to people and convince them of something. So actually understanding, the features and benefits, how to communicate the features and benefits in a way that a platform accepts it, for example, Facebook with, really clear copy. So it's those kind of things that were holding me back. But then, I just didn't have the right products. I was on the right track in creating new products, but needed to kind of learn a few key lessons about margin, differentiation, all of those kind of things to make yourself, stand out on platforms. So they're probably the two main things.
But when you were going through all that, you started then originally just by helping Greta grow her brand then, and then you pivoted into your own brand off the back of that. Is that kind of how it worked?
Yeah, that was definitely part of it. So I would grow Instagrams and she would buy the Instagrams or buy the kind of advertising space along with a lot of other brands. I actually moved to Melbourne just to work at one of her companies as well, just to learn, what am I missing here? Learn a lot over there, culture, surrounding yourself by really great people is probably the quickest way to learn. I realized that being in Adelaide, there wasn't really much there wasn't really any e-commerce talk. So that wasn't, that wasn't helpful in any way. So I moved over to Melbourne and spent a year there, which was really good. Yeah, surrounding myself with good people and just learning from them.
I think one of the key things that I've picked up there from you, and it's something that's resonated with me in my life, is the fact that I believe that wherever you're born, wherever you grow up, you have to leave that place in order to go and grow before you, even if you come back there in later on down the track, you have to leave there in order to grow, which is exactly what you've done with your e-com stuff. You've obviously seen, you got to the point where you're like, well, I'm throwing everything at the wall here. I'm getting so far, I'm doing well here, but not here. So now I need to know what I'm missing. And to do that, you've took yourself out of a situation and thrown yourself right in the deep end to be able to grow through that. And a lot of people aren't willing to do it. And it's where they fall down. I think the one thing that resonated with me as well is how much of a mindset is involved in anything, but like especially e-com, because when you start in e-com, you're gonna get smacked a lot of times. I mean, I've tried selling on Amazon, failed, all this other stuff. People think it's easy, like it's not an easy thing. How did you go about getting that mindset once you'd obviously decided that you're throwing everything at this?
Yeah, definitely. I think e-commerce is very hard unless you find that winning product. Success creates this feedback loop where you can actually learn and still, continually be growing in terms of, making money. So, for example, I've made a lot of mistakes, but because our kind of product and framework has been so solid, we've still been very profitable and able to grow, if that makes sense. So, I guess the first, if you just get that first pillar right of the product, it can actually just, stop. It makes the mistakes easier, if that makes sense. So yeah, really focusing on that first bit. Constantly reading case studies, these case studies that you read online, people are literally telling you this is exactly how you do what I have done. Now, you've obviously got to cut the crap. There's a lot of people that are just going to try to sell your course, which is just a joke. And, nobody's going to give you the next winning product. You need to kind of figure that out, how to find that yourself. And then, the best way to find a product is literally just test so many. Never overinvest too much money or all your capital into this one product or one concept, because chances are it might not work. You want to do 5 to 10 products and one of them will just take off. It really will. And you'll see it straight away. I personally don't do Amazon in the validation stage, because the longer it takes to create a product, the longer it takes to get to your results, the more risk involved. Whereas if you're doing just a straight Shopify Facebook ads funnel, you're going to get really quick feedback. So that's kind of our basic validation process.
Yeah, I love it. And it keeps it two-step, keeps it simple. Exactly. You just pick the traffic here, write the copy. If the ad doesn't work, you change the ad, change the copy, see if the result changes, but it's just nice and simple. One thing that I heard you say there is about courses, online courses. Everyone and every man and his dog at the moment is selling an online course in something. I mean, people have tried to get me to put what I do, my business into a course and stuff like that as well in the past. And courses do have their places, but obviously like you in the e-com space, like you're saying that your process can't be put into a course. Is it really something that people have got to like find their own way of doing things and what works for them and just go with that? You can't just pick up someone else's system. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think courses definitely have their places, as you said. I don't, look down on anyone for making a course and selling their services. Any kind of investment in that area is going to help other people grow, because obviously if someone's trying to sell a course, they're going to create new methods and stuff. I guess the only people that really love courses are the people that are really struggling, and they're assuming they're doing something wrong. And then what the person will do is they'll create a complicated course to kind of reconfirm that they are doing something wrong when it's not actually true. They complicate Facebook ad structures and this process just to make them feel unique and make the person think that they've spent their money well. So it's just not necessary. The process is so simple. I've watched YouTube videos where the person, the person just goes through the process, start to finish, everything that you'd need to do to kind of replicate finding a winning product, like let's say a $10 million to $100 million product in the first 2 years. They show it all. So it's kind of, I don't believe it's necessary to sell a course, so therefore I won't. I'm still yet to see a course where I really, think it's worth its money. But that being said, I don't actively look, so maybe it does exist.
I see that you've got like a YouTube channel as well, and I'll link it in because you provide a lot of value on your YouTube and give people a lot of insights into that. And obviously you've been successful in it. 150 million online says that you know what you're doing. After you've had all them products that have failed, and you've gone with Greta, and you've obviously learned a load of her and started to find these little components that are starting to work for you and put together. What was it that your first product and your first thing where you thought, now I've got something, now I'm on the money, now I have a formulated process for myself that can really accentuate my growth?
Yeah. So I started calming blankets of the Oodie 3 years ago. And, I was at home in Adelaide. I was kind of doing like a self agency, it was just me. I would shoot the video ads. I'd launch the Shopify store. I'd run the Facebook ads. I kind of knew the whole process. So I launched two businesses. I got 10 plus ROAS in the first day doing like engagement posts. So it was kind of it was really obvious that I was onto something just based on the data.
Yeah.
So that kind of testing process is still ingrained into the culture of our business to this day, where we're just testing rapidly with products, trying to figure out, what is going to be the next Oodie, because we will find them. And we've built systems and software to find them. So yeah, I guess it's really obvious when you're using a measurable system like Facebook, whether it's going to work. I obviously never knew that it was going to be this big. We're probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in Australia now. So it really did take off, and there's a lot of lessons in why it did take off. And it was, not obvious at the time, but it is kind of starting to get a bit obvious now why certain things grow to the size that they have. Yeah.
Tell us the most obvious things to you from your perspective.
I think
so I don't want to
no, for sure. I'll try not to get sidetracked, but when you first start a business, everyone that's starting out right now is going, okay, I want to build a brand, because brands are sexy. It's like they want to tell their friends about it. What they'll do is they'll spend ages on a logo, ages on a website. They'll spend all of their money on making it look beautiful. And that's because they see all these really lovely brands that they love, and they all have that set up. So they forget that, like, the kind of underlying principle of that it needs to perform. You need to sell because you need to make profit so that you can invest more in advertising, because a nicely designed brand isn't really a brand if nobody knows about it. So I think the first step is focus on performance and finding that right product. To do that, you don't invest your capital in anything aside those two things. So, the standard Shopify themes, they convert very, very well. That's why dropshippers use them. So yeah, you don't need to pay a web developer to get started. So I guess that product orientation and the direct performance orientation in the beginning was probably the most important, because I was entirely self-funded, still am to this point, where you just need to constantly reinvest and grow. But on the contrary, the reason why the Oodie is so big now is because it has such a large cult following and such a strong brand. And so
great influencers to build that as well.
Yeah, influencers are really key. I guess, if you break down what a brand is, it's more so, if you had to put a metric to it, you can look at branded search and those kind of things. But, a brand is essentially an amazing experience, an amazing product. And, you could measure that in word of mouth virality. So how many customers are telling further customers, because that just has this exponential effect onto your digital marketing results. If you're paying $30 to acquire a customer, and they tell 3 more customers, then you've suddenly got a fast growing product. That's, an actual viral product. You're more likely to get more of like a 0.1 or a 0.3 kind of word of mouth ratio. So it's those kind of things that are less obvious in the beginning, but that's how you're going to build a brand that's worth over $100 million, in my opinion.
And when you build these brands, is it something that you build to put into a group of brands, or is it something you're building to sell the brand onto someone else? Is that something that's in your foresight when you start building these things?
Yeah, definitely. So we have kind of 3 core pillars at the Davie Group, which is like our holding company of all of our brands. If we're scaling our existing brands, the Oodie's got some really exciting things coming up. We're testing, a lot of products to kind of inject into our existing brands. And then we've got launching new brands. We've actually got about 10 or 11 brands at the moment, which we've launched in multiple categories. But we've also got acquiring brands. So we're acquiring brands and then sharing the knowledge that we have, injecting them into our, let's say, platform, our software capabilities, and just improving their results really quickly. So yeah, there's no clear area that we focus on the most at this stage, because we're new to this as well. It's just constant learning experience, but we have a lot to apply to these businesses, and then the answer will become very apparent. What our main focus is in the next 6 months.
Would you suggest then, like, say you've done a bit of selling online, you've been working online for years, someone like myself that's already generated revenue from another business, and you were gonna, would it be like a good idea to go onto like a Shopify marketplace and buy something that's already generating revenue to start off with, or would it be better building something from scratch and going for it that way?
Mm-hmm. I would definitely advise just building it yourself. Action creates information. In doing all of these actions yourself is going to, you can write a step-by-step process of how to launch a brand, but there's just so much lost in between the lines, just kind of subconscious learning of what works. So, doing it all yourself is just an awesome way to learn. And a lot could go wrong with acquisitions. I don't think that they should be done with inexperienced people. I haven't read a case study of anyone with buying like a Shopify dropshipping store and successfully growing that. I've read a lot about content sites and people optimizing them from an SEO perspective and adding, AdSense and whatnot to it. But yeah, I would say that the level of difficulty to launch a Shopify store means that you should just launch it yourself. That being said, if you're buying a really unique product and a brand already has a community, then that might be worth it. But then that's going to be a lot more expensive than a standard, small Shopify store.
And when you say you're looking at acquisitions, what kind of level of acquisitions are you looking at purchasing? So like, because there might be some people on here looking to sell their business. You know what I mean? They listen to this.
Yeah, I would advise anyone to just reach out, to be completely honest. We're happy to, even if we can't acquire you, we're happy to help any entrepreneur, to be completely honest. But we're looking for definitely over $1 million a year revenue. And if you're earlier in the first year of business and it looks like it's going to get there, where we can see that those trends playing out as well, and we're happy to chat about it accordingly. So yeah, anyone with a unique kind of validated product as well is really exciting, or any influencer-led brands as well. We're extremely happy to apply our organizational structure and make it, allow people to focus on what they love doing, which is probably creating, branding. Yeah, we'll take care of all the boring stuff where all the money is. So yeah.
But that's right. The boring stuff is where all the money is. I mean, what you're essentially saying is that the ecosystem and all the pillars that you've got at the back end, someone like an influencer that has a 400, 500,000, maybe 1 million followers, that has a little Shopify store that's turning over clothes or whatever, could just plug into that and have access to another 2-3 million in revenue just because of the systems that you've got in place that they've not got. It's pretty powerful stuff when you think about it.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of things that, they're influencers, they're focusing on their own platform. That takes a lot of time. So we totally understand that. We just want to, we can also apply capital to it as well. A lot of influencers work with drops just because they can't keep up with their inventory. We obviously can assist in that as well. So, yeah.
So I just want to go into like suppliers and white labeling and get really into the weeds. I know you're out of the weeds yourself now, but there's a lot of people that are just starting that are in these things, that are starting activewear brands or this kind of stuff online. What was dropshipping what you predominantly started with yourself, and how has dropshipping changed over the last few years? So how can people get going with that?
Yeah, funnily enough, I've never drop shipped before. But that being said, I do recommend it to get started. That may seem a little bit strange, but I have done the mechanism of drop shipping, which is validating without much money upfront. So it's just a very easy way to get started and learn. Watching YouTube drop shipping videos is going to teach you. No, never drop shipped. But that being said, great way to get started. I guess the process is more like, I'll chat about the supply chain just for anyone that's wanting to get started and a couple of mistakes. So you're going to want to use, if you want like a really unique product that maybe hasn't tipped yet and you can't find it on AliExpress, you're going to have to go onto Alibaba. Yeah. And that may seem confronting because you're going to have larger order volumes, but it's a great sign that you're either late and nobody wants the product, or you're just bang on time. Like a lot of the products I can't even get them on AliExpress yet, which is really exciting. So then there's this large sourcing process where you can check if they're a trading company or an actual like supplier, an actual factory, just on Alibaba. If you're looking just for general products, you might want to actually go and look for a trading company because they're probably chatting to a ton of other warehouses and they can source anything. And then you just want them to start sending you products because they've got on the ground knowledge in China. If not, you're with a factory, that's probably good if you're 100% sold on this product because you're talking directly to the person that can create change. And you're probably going to get the best price because there's going to be no uptake, no increase in price due to the agent. So that's first and foremost. Making sure that you've got trade assurance on Alibaba is important because then you'll get refunds if things go wrong. Making sure that you're clearly documented everything that you're requesting on top of your invoices to make sure that you can call on that trade assurance. What color is it? What Pantone color? What sizing? Just going really specific because otherwise you won't get covered. Because if there's any room for interpretation, Alibaba might side with the supplier itself. So using WeChat is going to be a vote of approval it's going to make you seem more credible that you've got WeChat when reaching out to these suppliers, getting it on there and having discussions with them. But then again, documenting your final order through email. They're the kind of things that I would do to get started.
I was speaking to Troy Candy, right? And he was telling me about when he came up with the snorkel idea. You've probably seen it. It's a very viral product. It sells loads of them. And he didn't have the certain things in place to protect himself, and obviously it got copied, and he was having problems. His factory that he was dealing with was selling his product, and every time he released a new one, they'd copy it and sell it, and he had to deal with all that and stuff. So have you ever had that happen to you personally?
Yeah, totally. We have a counterfeit problem as well. Apple and Nike have a counterfeit problem, so it's never going to be completely solved if they can't solve it. And yeah, there's I don't want to get too boring, but there's a ton of stuff that you can do to protect yourself. If your product is completely novel, you can create a patent for that. That's expensive stuff. So, but if you have a completely unique idea, I would validate it and then go, okay, this is actually going to work. Now I need to raise funding for this patent because it does provide a lot of value. And you can also create copyright through just differentiated designs. Like people can't launch out Oodie patents because they're out Oodie patents. So, that's a very cheap form of common rights use Again, I'm not a lawyer, so seek legal advice, but they're the kind of, you've always got to put those disclaimers. They're the kind of things that you need to be looking for early in a brand is how can you differentiate. Textiles are really easy because you can put patterns on it and stuff. But in terms of the snorkel idea, it sounds, I'm not exactly, I think I know the one you're talking about. That's pretty novel. And I think that he probably could have put patents on it. He should have probably started with patents and just any IP protection, in China initially, and then tried to get a worldwide patent on it.
Yeah, I think he did well with it. I mean, like $1 million inside a few months on the back of this viral product. Do you know what I mean? It's just a snorkel that you put a beer in and then you do. I don't use them personally.
Yeah,
but it's a novel idea. It's a novel idea.
I'll touch on that a little bit for viewers. If you've got a product that has this visual element that shows the product being used in its best sense, and it's very easy to understand. There's a lot of like kitchen gadgets and stuff like that. It most likely will do very well because you can communicate it quickly in the format of Facebook Lives as a 4:5 video in terms of ratio sizing. So I think that it's very easy to digest. There's a bit of entertainment, very easy to educate. So any of those kind of products are awesome. And especially with TikTok, the way they're going, it's just a really exciting time to be in e-commerce and creating those really visual products.
What I've just got from you there is the fact that if you can communicate it in 30 seconds effectively what it can do for you or how it can make you feel in like 30 seconds on Instagram long form or Facebook Live or stories like that, then you might have something potentially that's going to bang.
100%. E-commerce is all about friction. If you can get that purchase and that kind of communication across really quickly, as well as a fast website with easy to digest information, quick checkout, you're going to do well. You're going to be able to profit on cold traffic.
Yeah, that's good. So you've obviously gone through the importance of like white labeling. I just want to go through that with you because I think white labeling is where people go wrong, because like a lot of people that I see fail with especially with the dropshipping is they bring it over with the Chinese brand on it, or they bring it up someone else's brand on it. It's like then you're not differentiated at all. Like I understand that you're saying test the product, but I do believe that you should brand it yourself like a little bit. Is that something you'd advise, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. 100%. You've got a white label to some degree. People don't want to make them feel like they've just bought something from China. You need to have trust. It's not hard to create a Canva logo, and suppliers should be willing to make it happen. Worst case, just buy 10 units, buy a local manufacturer, repackage it yourself, buy some boxes with a local printer. You're going to pay way too much. But again, we're just trying to test the product and understand if it's going to work, and then we're going to invest in it. So, your aim isn't to make money at that stage, but you do still want a great boxing experience, because that's going to play into your creative. It's going to play into your website. It's going to play into your unboxing videos that you're going to run onto Facebook. So yeah, definitely white labeling. And then, you're going to have to white label it anyway once you've validated it to build an actual brand.
Do you think then, Davie, like to because everyone wants to get into e-com, right? Do you think then when it's your first few products, do you think you have to have an interest in the product yourself? Or do you think it just has to be a complete money play? Or what's your view on like the purpose behind it? Like in terms of like your purpose, does it match your purpose? Does it match your, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think domain knowledge in the area is going to help you communicate and market the product and understand the pain points of the customer, but it's not necessary. There needs to be some degree of passion, but that passion, as vain as it is initially, could be in just making money. My passion is learning systems and, changing the way people launch businesses. So that's just a passion for e-commerce as a whole. So we'll technically sell anything, if that makes sense. So, initially, I don't think it's necessary. Pardon?
Your passion is I can see by the way that you communicate, your passion is the actual process of, okay, we'll get this from here. We'll see if it works. Once we've tested it, we'll with a small budget, then we'll scale it. And your passion is doing those steps and taking it through that funnel of what it's got to do to get from one place to the next place to make $1 million, to make $10 million. That's your passion, right?
Definitely. I think that was probably my passion previously. I guess my passion now is just building in general, building large brands that people love, household names, building, software to change the way that people launch businesses. So yeah, I guess it's just building as a whole.
You were saying at the start of the podcast that you said we'd touch more on this, but like you're saying, I think we're talking about some of the trials and tribulations, and obviously there's a bit of a story in the journey there. It didn't just pop for you day one. Give me some of those trials and tribulations that you went through that we were going to touch upon.
Yeah, totally. I guess just failure as a whole is the largest challenge, and just staying resilient is the most obvious one. I guess the time that I was probably going to quit e-commerce was just before I reached my success. I got into videography. I was like, why am I pursuing this thing it wasn't making me unhappy, but I wasn't achieving what I wanted to achieve. So yeah, I guess it was just before, I never gave up. I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and learning, as I said. And then the amount of challenges that came after I found that product is just insane. Customs, border holds, faulty products, dodgy suppliers, poor, Brexit, what absolutely annihilating us. It was just like, there's just been so many that I can barely think about it. I should write a list one day just so I can communicate it, but it doesn't get harder. It technically gets easier. You just get better, and you just learn to deal with it. There's going to be so many different things, and the thing you'll realize is that there's always a doomsday. It's always the end, and you'll get those ones, and your stomach will drop, and you'll think that everything that you have is going to be taken away because of this thing. And then after you have 10 of those and you realize that it never goes away, and you always manage to either fix it or disconnect from it and build somewhere elsewhere, that's a really good point in your life, because you realize you can kind of take on anything and just build resilience, I guess. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Would you say like your key driver at the start, then your key was like, I want to make a lot of money. Like, I just want to make a lot of money. Was that your key thing that got you into this?
Yeah, as sad as it sounds, it definitely was. I think it's a common thing that entrepreneurs do is, they're just trying to make money, and it's almost trite now, but when that happens, everyone will tell you, once you have money, it's just not your main driver anymore. It goes, and it is really, really true. I was probably one of the most money orientated people that you've ever met. But yeah, it did go away. And there was a much larger sense of fulfillment after it went away, of focusing on building, connecting with people, learning things that you just would never have been able to learn before without the success. So
for anyone just joining right now, we had a little bit of a technical issue, right? So this is why I don't do Zoom podcasts. But anyway, you were discussing money, and you're discussing the fact of how you've obviously discovered over time that money wasn't your key driver. But one thing I wanted to really, really touch upon then is at what point was it that money became not the key driver anymore? Like, was there a financial figure in your mind where you thought, do you know what, now money's not the key driver, now I get up because I love this?
Yeah, no, there wasn't any particular point that I can recall with that. I didn't really have any set monetary goals. Maybe that means that I wasn't exactly monetary driven, but yeah, no, there was no set point. I guess, I bought my house, and everything else is just kind of extra now, I guess. You don't actually need that much money. You can't really spend it. I'm not flashy. I'm not going to go buy a plane or anything like this. the more your lifestyle costs increase, the more you're going to chase more money. So
Yeah.
I think as soon as the more you have, if you get connected to it, the unhappier you're going to be. So there is a certain amount of attachment that you need to remove yourself from with this whole situation. So if you get attached to money and all your money gets taken away, what are you? You're going to be unhappy. So getting addicted to the process and everything else, I guess.
So obviously you don't know this about me, but I bought my first property when I was like 18, 19 years old, and I paid it off when I was 30. It took, which is pretty good from, as most things go, like a nice apartment, beautiful apartment. But one thing I want to say, and I don't know if you agree with this, I want to get your opinion on it, but I would suggest that people do not buy a home. Put your money into your development, yourself, into building this ecom business, into building whatever you do. Put it into you. Don't do what I did, because I literally, before I worked online, I used to work a job and used to pay things off, Davey. Like it's a mad. What you did was you found success with ecom, and then you bought the house, and then you thought, okay, what more do I need? But you've obviously probably got a small mortgage on it, or you've paid it off or whatever, but your business funds it. But when people are working and swapping time for money, like when we were probably younger in jobs, the last thing you want to do is get the mortgage, get the BMW on the driveway, get all this lifestyle stuff that looks great on Instagram. It doesn't offer you any tangible value in your development of your life. I just wanted to know if you agreed with it.
Yeah, totally. It's very hard to save yourself to a certain financial goal. Obviously, you can live comfortably if you're a great saver, but if you do want above average kind of living, you're obviously not going to be able to save your way there. You need to create more of an income stream. So I definitely agree with that. I had a house in mind that I wanted, a level of house that I would want. I was living with my parents when I was doing over 10 mil a year on ecom, because I knew, just because I knew, I was like, I don't want to buy a house and then move. Yeah. I didn't want to buy a house and then move just shortly after, and I didn't want to get a mortgage. So I obviously just waited and then bought my dream house. So I just played it, avoid debt at all costs. We're tightly bootstrapped, probably to our own detriment, but yeah, I would say yes. But at the same time, I'm a very risk adverse person. So it's just me. In terms of your question, really consider, what's this degree worth to me? Is it worth, debt for X amount of time? What's this car worth? Because trust me, it's not worth much. The novelty, the dopamine hit fades after buying it. So just focus on building your own skill set, and then the income will increase and saving will become much easier.
Mate, on the car thing, right? I literally drive my car from my place to Burley and my place to the gym, and that's it. Like, so I've got like a 10-year-old Audi. Like it does the job. It looks clean. It's nice. Like, it's all right. You don't need a Tesla to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? People get caught up in this trying to buy more stuff environment. It's like, you've just listened to Davie say he lived with his mum and dad, and he has turned over $10 million a year. $10 million a year, and he said he couldn't afford to get a house, the house he wanted yet. It just makes honestly, that just made me laugh, mate. But it's true.
No, I think it's important to just really know your financials, and also where you're heading, what you're actually saving for, and then go from there.
Did you ever have obviously a mentor or anything like that involved in your development? Like, has there been some key pivotal point? I mean, you've meant, I'll get you to mention the books and the videos and the resources that you kind of think are good resources for people to touch upon, but who's been your key mentors other than Greta?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever specifically had a mentor. I've had people that I really respect in certain areas, and then you just grab the knowledge from those people in those areas. So Toby Pierce is located in Adelaide. His just business sense and is just incredible.
Toby's a friend of mine, and as a brand we look after them. after sweat.com. So I know him well. Toby's a weapon of an entrepreneur, man.
Yeah.
He's a weapon of an entrepreneur.
Just his mental models and the way he thinks through problems and structures solutions is really something to idolize and listen to. Greta, in terms of the influencer marketing spaces, has been really incredible. She's also great at networking. In terms of books, anything by Jim Collins is going to be simple to read, and really exciting and help. Is backed by a lot of studies and stuff like that their team spend a lot of time on, so you can probably trust them. Ready, Fire, Aim is a great book to get started with. The Lean Startup, all of those ones, you can't go wrong. So I aside from that, don't really have any mentors. I love Warren Buffett. He is a very risk adverse person and just stops you from jumping on every single hype. So there's benefits there, but I also love Elon Musk and how he, really changes things and creates, how many companies does he actually run? It's really tough to run that amount of companies. So he's just an incredible entrepreneur, and I idolize him a lot as well.
Anyone that can tweet and literally make something go viral or something claps on the back of a tweet in a financial market is a pretty powerful man, isn't it? Like when you think about the logic of behind that. Is there anything else that you're investing in outside of the e-com space, or are you just like fully like just submerge yourself in that, or do you obviously now you've got money and you're obviously making money, do you diversify into other areas or just completely stick with e-com?
No, I completely stick with e-com. I think anything focusing on like crypto or any other area is just going to cause me to lose a lot more, because I could just focus on e-com. A lot of people don't understand this, but when people are investing, the best investors, they're focusing on what they understand. They're not going through biotech and investing in that, and then they're going into a completely different industry. It's like, no, they know everything that they need to know about either, real estate or something like that. And that's why they can get those incredible returns. So it's really important when you have domain knowledge, because you see depth of insight that nobody else sees. And that's where the profit actually is. So I just focus on e-com at the moment.
I think it was Buffett and Bill Ackman that said that, only invest in what you know and what you love and what you use, because otherwise you're running a fool's errand, because you don't understand exactly what niche you're going into. So before I ever invested in cryptocurrency, for argument's sake, I read white paper after white paper, and I really wanted to understand the breakdown of, okay, what is Bitcoin, what is Ethereum, what's Cardano going to do with the world, because I really need to understand the fundamentals behind it and where it could potentially go if you're going to put hundreds of thousands of US dollars into something to make it to try and make an exponential return on it. You've got to understand the long-term game. And there's a key quote as well: if you wouldn't keep the investment for 2 weeks, why would you, or for like 10 years, why would you invest in it for 2 weeks? It's like, it's a real simple analogy, but when you run your whole life on that kind of footing, you can really start to separate yourself from doing the shit stuff that you shouldn't potentially go into,
Yeah, exactly. You've got to know what you're investing in. 100% agree.
And I suppose the next question I have is like, what is your next goal then? Because obviously you've got these 7, 8, 9, 10 brands, 12 brands. You turn over 150 mil. Like, are you? Is I know the goal's not money anymore, but in terms of like success is measured on the monetary dollar value. So is it like, I want to get this Davie group to turn over $1 billion, $2 billion, or is there something? There must be something there that's keeping you going.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's less monetary, but more so like stages of the company's life. We've proven that we can build brands to a very high figure. We've proved that we can scale them. Now we need to prove that our systems and our processes are so solid that we can do it across 100 brands. And then we can, the $1 billion revenue is definitely a target for us, in probably more so an internal my target at this point, but it will be a great number because it proves that we know what we're doing once and for all. And we can really replicate that. And then there's no reason why we can't be a $10 billion company.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way you're going with it. And obviously, when you're getting into these billion-dollar companies, like it's all about having groups of companies together, isn't it? Using assets from each other to propel themselves forward. That's how they do the roll-ups to get those billion-dollar companies. There's not many companies out there that just do it as one company. So so that's the key to that. But the one thing I want to leave the audience with in regards to you, is like, if there's like one thing, like there's obviously there's people that listen to this that are very successful in business, but there's also people that are on the trajectory of really wanting to start moving in their life. If there's one piece of, like, if you departed this world today and had to drop one bit of solid knowledge that's going to impact tens of thousands of people for the rest of their lives, like, what would that bit of knowledge for you be?
Just stay intellectually curious. Like, always just wanting to learn is just the key, and that's the common trait that every single successful entrepreneur has. If you're not curious, you're not going to learn, and that's the truth. So, and a lot of, it's hard to say, like, find passion in the learning, because if you're not passionate, you're going to be discouraged. So yeah, I guess just try everything until you can kind of find that passion, and yeah, just stay intellectually curious.
I love that, because it is such a simple thing, but it's something we all forget. We all have the habit of losing interest, but losing interest is actually a great thing, because it kind of shows you where you should go, because you should always pursue things where you have more interest in, and it sounds so simple, but people kind of forget it. And I just want to leave today and say this, look, mate, what you've done with Oodie and the other brands is phenomenal, mate. It's phenomenal to get to 150 million. I've kind of left the brands out on my part, but I'll put a link to all the brands in the description as well that you've built, so people can go in and see that. But I really wanted to get the mechanics today of what you've done and how you've gone about it, and kind of give people a real understanding into that. So thank you very much for your time, mate. And do you want to leave any links to your personal stuff and any websites? Is there anything you want me to put in there for you?
Yeah, maybe just to our YouTube would be awesome. We're just trying to show the entire process, ins and outs. I've given some high level thoughts here, but would love to just keep teaching your listeners as well and helping in any way we can. TikTok as well, we're having to play around with that as well. So if you're not on YouTube, go to TikTok.
So yeah, I'll link all those links in the bio for you guys, so you can grab Davie's knowledge and really consume him. Because the key thing here with Davie is, and why I'm so pleased to have him on here and to for the hour to drop this knowledge, is the fact that he has done it. And he's not one of these people that's like just selling your course and made a couple of $1 million. He's turned over a mass amount of money. So this is the kind of guy that you want to immerse yourself in and really understand the mechanics of what he's doing and why he's doing it. So I think you're going to get a lot of value from this. If you could do me a solid favor and give Davie a follow on Instagram, give me a follow on Instagram, send us both a message. Let us know if this hit for you. Let us know what you got from this podcast. And also, if you could do me a solid favor and leave me a review on Apple, on YouTube in the comments, we would be buzzed on that. That is Davie Fogarty. He is a legend. And that was the Frankie Lee Podcast.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Frankie Lee Podcast.